guys, it's Kat and I'm back for a review. I think this is the first review I've actually done since I've been back from holidays. I've just been catching up on empties and favorites and blah, blah, blah. So I'm very excited to talk today about the Naked Heat Palette. The Urban Decay Naked Heat Palette, which was released in the US, a month or 6 weeks ago now. And in Australia, we are very much lagging behind. I did buy this on the Mecca website. They had like a preview online sale where for I think one day you could order it online a month in advance, whereas it's actually going to be hitting stores 28th of August, which I think is too late because this came out in June in the US. I think a month I can forgive it, but if you can release it early online for like a sneak preview, it means you've got it like in a warehouse. Just release it earlier, please. So I did actually pick that up then. Mecca's really great. They ship, I think we ordered it and it arrived the next day. Like, they're really, really good. In Australia, I think this is $83. I'll put the details in the description box down below with links where you can get it in Australia, links where you can get it in the US, and other places. But essentially, this is the 5th Naked palette in the Urban Decay range if you don't include the Naked Basics palettes, which are the mini ones. These are the big 12 pan palettes, and I have all of them, which I knew I was going to get this because I collect them. So I actually haven't watched any reviews. There are heaps of them online. I know Urban Decay sent this palette out to a bunch of people before it was released. So like the week before, all these reviews were going up. I think I was overseas at the time, but I didn't watch any of them because I knew I was going to get it. So I thought, why let other people's opinion kind of influence me? I'm just going to see what I think of it and do a review. So yeah, sorry if you've seen like 100 reviews of the Naked Heat palette. It is what it is. It's a popular palette. It's a new palette. It's exciting. Naked palettes from Urban Decay are always exciting. So, you know, there's no difference here. All right, so the format of this review is I'm going to show you the packaging, show you the product. I'm going to show you swatches. I've got swatches for myself so I can tell you what I think of the shades. But then I'm going to give you sort of like my pros and cons. Now, there are pros and cons with this, and I will probably compare it to the other Naked palettes in the range as well. So if you aren't familiar with those, I'm going to kind of compare that as we go. I'll probably leave timestamps in the description box because, I don't know, if you want to skip things and just see swatches, you can do that. No problem, you can do that. Oh, before I do go on, I do want to mention that I'm currently giving one of these away on my beauty news channel that I do with Hayley. So that giveaway is probably open for another week if you want to check it out. There's a few other things we're giving away as well, but one of the things is a Naked Heat palette. So I'll link that up in the corner and in the description box as well. All right, so I've talked about where you can get it from. So in Australia, Mecca. In the US, I believe Sephora, maybe Ulta, Urban Decay website, stuff like that. This is, I love the packaging, I'm just gonna say. So the box looks like this. It is just a cardboard box. It's got the shades on the back like normal Urban Decay Naked palettes do. Then the thing that's cool is this comes taped up, but you can push it out and it's sort of like a matchbox thing. So this is the Naked Heat, so you know, it's about heat. And you take it out of that and it's got some like burnt matches. So it's supposed to look a bit like a matchbox. All right, so when you do open it up, it is this gorgeous sort of, all right, the packaging is really, really great. It's similar to the Naked Smoky palette where it is that kind of thick plastic packaging. I think this one's a bit thicker actually, like thicker in when you look at it that way. But it's got a magnetic closure, so it does close. It's not super sturdy, but it's sturdy enough. The packaging is very sturdy. It's made out of plastic. It's got this sort of like yellowy nude. It kind of looks like gold, but not shiny, like a matte gold text on it. And then underneath, you can see through. So the top layer is a clear plastic, and then underneath, it's this kind of textured surface that's got ridges and a kind of flame design. It's really cool and quite unique. So yeah, it just looks really cool. And like I said, it's sort of similar to the Smoky palette in the design, but it's definitely its own thing. And then the rest of the packaging is almost like a coppery rose gold. It's not super shiny, but it's a little bit metallic. One thing I like about the Urban Decay Naked palettes is that from the very first one through to this one, they all contain 12 shades and each shade contains 1.3 grams of product. So they haven't reduced the amount of product like some brands, cough cough, Too Faced. They have been consistent along the whole range. All right, so you open it up and inside you get a mirror. Mine's still got its little sleeve on it. It's a good size mirror. You can definitely do your makeup with it. And it does kind of, it's got a hinge that stays in place. So if you're the type of person that likes to sit it somewhere and move it to angle where your eyes are, you can do that without it falling down. And it goes all the way down, even more than like a flat angle. It goes, yeah, it's a handy mirror, definitely. It's also got a double-sided brush, and I tried to use this today to do my makeup because I'm wearing this whole palette on my eyes today. So it was definitely usable, but I felt like I needed more. You can't just do a whole look using these two unless you just put one product on and sort of blend it out. So it's got this one sort of generic side that is sort of fluffy, but you can use to pack on product. You can sort of use it to blend it out if you want to. And then a more tapered side, which is my personal favorite. This is a really nice side because you can really put some product in the crease, or you can put it on the lower lash line, or you can just blend it out if you use a softer color. So it's a usable brush, but it's not like, I don't think you can use it for a complete look unless you're just, you know, chucking on one color and moving on. All right, so I'm sure you've seen the shades, but these are the shades, and like traditional Urban Decay Naked palettes, it goes from lightest to darkest. You might notice, however, that there are a lot more mattes in here than most Urban Decay Naked palettes. I believe the Naked 1 and 2 only had 2 mattes and 10 shimmers. I think the Naked 3 maybe ramped it up to 3 mattes, and then the Naked Smoky had a few more. This has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the majority of the shades in this are actually matte. And I'm sure you can see as well that this is a warm toned palette. Everything here is, well, generally everything here is quite warm toned, very orangey, very red, very burnt, very Naked Heat. And it is very different from the other Naked palettes in the range because those were either more neutral, more varied, rosy, or kind of cool toned smoky. So this is sort of like fitting into an area that they are missing in the range and an area that's really, really popular at the moment. So it's a smart move bringing this one out. All right, let's get on to the swatches and then I'll let you know what I think of the palette. overall, I like this palette. I find it's very easy to use, and whenever I use it, I create some really pretty looks. So like, I like the look I'm using today. It's using the whole palette. The shades are easy to use. I find the shimmery shades are probably easier to use than the mattes. The Urban Decay's always been really good with their shimmery shades, which is why I think previously they put more emphasis on the shimmery shades in their Naked palettes. Now, I'm glad that they have introduced more mattes, because these days matte looks are in, and also I think a lot of people use more mattes in their daily look than when the Naked one came out, for example. Mattes weren't really a thing then, besides like maybe a transition color. People were shimmery brow bone, shimmer. So I think this is a lot more modern, but I don't know. I like it, and like I said, I'm really happy with the looks I create when I use it, and I find it very easy to use, but I find this very, very, very limiting. Now, what I mean by that is, if you saw the swatches, there's a lot of shades in here that are very similar. Now, I find, okay, let's just talk, I'm gonna start getting into the negatives. I'm just gonna let you know that I'm gonna talk a lot about negatives, because I think that this palette had so much potential and it could have been improved like tenfold if they just did a few minor tweaks. But overall, I'm really happy with the palette. So don't be like, oh, Kat's such a bitch, she's saying all these negative things. I like this palette, I enjoy it. I don't feel like I wasted money on it. I think it's a nice addition to the Naked collection. I just feel like it had so much potential, and I do really like the quality of it. So if they really nailed it with the shades, this could have been potentially better than the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. Like, that formula is slightly better than the mattes in here, so those mattes are better here than this, but I think the shimmers in this are better than those shimmers, and I like that the shimmer shades in this more than those. So anyway, I reckon it could have rivaled it, but it missed the mark. All right, before I do pick out the things that I don't like, I do want to talk about the shades that I really love, because I feel like I should talk about the positive things first. This shade Ember is supreme. It is such a good shade. I'm wearing it on the outer part of my eye, and it has like a black base with like a burgundy shift to it. It is such a good shade. I think there should have been more shades that were as unique as that in the palette, because it's so gorgeous. The quality is phenomenal, and it's probably my favorite shade in the whole palette. I also really love Scorched. It's like the shimmery kind of red shimmer shade. That's the one I tend to reach for the most. That's the one I'm wearing sort of on my eyes with that Ember shade. Gorgeous. It is gorgeous. I love it. Then I love the kind of dark mattes and that matte there. I find they're very nicely pigmented. You don't need to keep reapplying or building up, and they blend out quite nicely. Often I find really pigmented matte shades tend to stick to the eye and then not really blend. I think this is a nice balance between pigmented and blendability. I think that if I compare it to the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance, that is slightly more powdery and easier to blend, but these are still really, really nice. And you can get like a detailer sort of brush, like a little firm brush, get one of these colors, run it along the lash line, and it looks gorgeous. So I love the quality of the dark mattes. I love the shimmery shade. I love that dark shimmery shade. They are really, really good, and that's what I tend to gravitate towards when I use this palette. That's what I'm using today. They're beautiful. All right, let's now talk about the shades that I don't like and that I think should have been culled from this palette. Firstly, this shade here, Ounce, has no place in this palette whatsoever. It is like a satin nude, like a satin cream, and I find that I hate it. I can't figure out a way to use it. I tried to use it on my brow bone highlight today because I thought I need to use this piece of shit, and I ended up having to get my finger and rubbing it off because it was too frosty. Now, this creates a frosty look, but not like a nice highlighted look. So on the inner corner, it looks chalky. I tried to use it there as well. It doesn't add a shimmer, it adds a chalkiness. And then on the brow bone highlight, it looks frosty and horrible. Now, if you're going for these warm shades, the last thing you want is like frostiness just in there. It's gross. It does not look good. I don't like it, and it should it has no place in here. If this was replaced with a matte cream, lovely. I get it, it makes sense. I feel like they didn't do that because the last couple of palettes had matte creams, but I don't want to reach for my other Naked palettes when I'm using this palette. I want to create a whole eye look using this without needing to reach for something else. Then we go on to these 3 shades here. So these mattes. It's like light tan, which is Chaser, like a warmer tan, which is Sourced, and then a more kind of cork colored tan, which is Low Blow. You don't need them all. You definitely don't need them all, and it's a waste of space. Now I find that Chaser is the least pigmented of the bunch, so I would happily chuck that out along with Ounce. You don't need these two, they're too similar. Get rid of another one. They're both nice quality. Pick whichever one you want to get rid of. And then instead of those, we've already chucked out 3. Matte kind of cream shade, then a traditional or like a really punchy highlighter shade. Now I think what would suit this would either be a light kind of champagne gold, really, really shimmery, almost like this kind of formula, or something like a light peach that would work with the warm shades but add some brightness on the lid or the inner corner, because yeah, this doesn't do it. And the only one that adds a bit of brightness is that Scorch shade, which is a lot, like generally too dark for a lot of people. I don't mind it as an inner corner highlight, but other people probably want something lighter. Then I also find that the 3 shimmery kind of red tone shades are way too similar. It's almost like they're the same shade with a different sort of finish to them. So we have Lumber, which is more of a red color with a gold shift. Then we have Dirty Talk, which is more like an orangey red shimmery shade. And then Scorched, which has a slightly like more sparkly finish to it, like a more metallic finish to it. And it's slightly more raspberry, but they all look pretty much the same on the eyes. If I go any of them, it creates a look that's so similar that you'd have to be a savant to tell the difference, like with what I'm wearing. I could literally wear one on one eye and one on the other eye and no one know the difference. So I find that really limiting with what you can do with this palette. So yeah, you could get rid of 2 of them and add in something like a really beautiful gold copper that adds in the warmth but also gives like variety, a beautiful bronze, or even like, you know, instead of one of these guys, add in along the line a really deep, beautiful kind of, I don't know, like a berry color, a shimmery berry, because at least if you had a kind of bronzy gold, a bronze, a coppery gold, a berry, and the red, you can make beautiful eye looks with a variety of different looks. Right now, I find this really limiting. I pretty much go either one of these shimmery shades all over the lid, blend it out with warm color, you've got the same look, doesn't matter what shades you use, or you can go in with this color and create a really, really dark sort of bronzy kind of smoky eye, which is a gorgeous look and it's definitely my favorite shade, but it's not an everyday thing. It's quite a bold statement look and it's not for everyone. So for me, I find this really, really limiting, but it had such great potential. So chuck out some of the redundant, boring ones or the things that just don't work here. Shimmery peach, like a bronzy gold, really nicely metallic, sort of like a plum, beautiful metallic purpley shade that's quite warm, even like a cherry red, and this palette would work so well. It had so much potential. Also, I find it a little bit annoying that it looks like that the inspiration is fire, yet they only chose the orange part of fire to replicate. So I do find this to be really nice to use. The looks you create are lovely, but it's very limiting with the looks that you can create. Now I do have all of the other Naked palettes, and I just wanted to kind of say that I think that the Naked Heat is definitely the most limited with variety. So for example, the original Naked palette, yeah, it's pretty boring, but you've got smoky colors, you've got warm colors, you've got cool colors, and you've got some true nude colors. You can create a variety of looks with that. And that's why that was so popular back in the day. Once again, Naked 2 added on that. You've got some golds, you've got some pinks, you've got some mauves, bronze, cool colors and dark colors. You've got a variety of stuff going on in here. very cool tone compared to what's popular today, but you know, that's history in the making. Naked 3 was definitely the first like really themed one, but once again, you have variety in here. You've got like nude basic looks, you've got my favorite shade, which was a beautiful kind of rose gold shimmery look. Oh, these were actually my favorite. These kind of cool toned mauvey ones, gorgeous. And once again, darker shades to dark, like make it darker. And then of course we've got the Naked Smoky, which once again, you can do a variety of looks. You can go warm, you can go cool, you can go purple, you can go matte, you know, very cool toned, but you can get stuff in it, like a variety of stuff in it. And then you look at this one and you kind of go matte, 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 useless shade, warms, and then a couple of darks, and the darks are beautiful. But yeah, it just creates the same look, and I think it could have been so much better. I do like this palette. I'm glad I've got it. I enjoy using it. I think the quality is lovely. I think the mattes have improved throughout the years. I think the shimmers are nice to use, except for these two. They're pretty poor with just everything. But I think this really misses the mark because I need to reach for another palette to finish my look, because I need a kind of like cream or a matte light color to finish my look. I also find a lot of the shades quite redundant, and it just really limits what you can do with this palette. I just would have loved to have seen a really rich kind of warm gold, a really rich berry metallic. I think some of their strengths in Urban Decay eyeshadows are their really, really, really beautiful metallics, and they really pulled back to give us more like trendy mattes, because that's what's cool these days. But I think it's a detriment to this palette. It just lacks in variety, and I need to reach for at least another single eyeshadow to complete a look when I use this. So yeah, that was my review. Long, rambly as per usual. I don't know what other people think in the community because I haven't watched the reviews. I might start watching them now. But yeah, gorgeous shades, but does that not look like 50 shades of like orange? It's just graduating orange. A little bit disappointing, but I enjoy it. I enjoy it, but when I critique it, there are a lot of holes and a lot of problems with it. So anyway, hopefully that was helpful if you were looking at buying this. If you don't want to buy it, and enter our giveaway and go for your life. But if you're in Australia, this does release end of August, which is annoying, but it's a thing. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you next time, and if you want to know what other shit's on my face, I'll list it in the description box. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye.